My name's Amanda Coogan and I'm a performance artist. I always loved art in school, and I came straight out of school and I went into art college and I studied painting first. And then I absolutely love being in art college. So I studied painting, and then I studied sculpture, and then I studied performance art. So actually it sounds like they're disparate disciplines within the visual arts, but they all are interrelated really. I suppose performance art and the kind of work that I do is a fairly new form of art. It's only about 100 years old, and it amalgamates all of these things. I cannot but be, I think, a feminist artist. So when, as a female artist using the female form, the figurative, it's very important that that's a very political examination of the world. Examination of the world through my embodied experience of it. And so a lot of the themes of performance art, so conceptualism, feminism, social justice, equality, all of those, I suppose, themes that are of the performance art of definitely run like veins through my work. I would research stories really widely. It can be from a story that I hear on the radio to an article in the newspaper or a book that I'm really interested in, and I'll go down very fabulous rabbit holes of this. And you never know where the ignition is going to come. It could be that I'm doing the wash up and I go, oh my goodness, this gesture could become something. And I think contemporary art is so exciting because it is a place where we explore great ideas. We examine them and we don't write it in English as they do so wonderfully maybe in philosophy or in the humanities. We explore it through a visual manual language, the language of contemporary art, which has many, many manifestations. But these great places that are galleries allow us to come in and consider things. So when you come into a gallery and there isn't an object, there's another human being there for you to make a consideration, and they're offering ideas. They might be, I had a gorgeous performance here, I think in 2016, and I was walking up and down your stairs and I had some kind of foil streamers and I was kind of waving them in the air. It was absolutely gorgeous. I think it was a couple of hours. It was a long durational performance. And the people who came into the gallery to see that work really actually were making the work with me. And I say that because sometimes I might know what I'm going to do next. And there's somebody sitting in front of me or standing in front of me. So I know I have to interact, move around them, offer them some of the foil, turn around, put the foil somewhere else, put it in my head, put it in my waistband, swizz it. I want to show them the shape that I'm making. So all of those interactions with the audience make this dynamic piece of work. I think that a lot of my work uses fabric either worn on the body or the body intersecting with the fabric. And actually my dad was a tailor, so I was always around fabric all my life. And even as a little child, I probably didn't draw as much as I sewed little dresses and bits of fabric together. I'm really honoured and really delighted that the UCC collection has included I Could Drink a Case of You, this triptych photograph from a live performance. What's really interesting about I Could Drink a Case of You, which is actually a line from a Joni Mitchell song, which I won't attempt to sing for you. I am a super fan of hers. You never know where inspiration is coming from. But it came from this large-scale live performance I made called 13 Women. And 13 Women was really interesting. I made it in 2013, which was the 100th anniversary of the Dublin lockout, 1913. And I was having a look around all of these ideas, and we were having a lot of problems with defective buildings in Dublin at the time. And I was just trying to noodle that. And at the time I lived in North Inner City Dublin, and on a street called Church Street, very close to where I was living in Stoneybatter, a number of tenement houses collapsed in 1913. They literally collapsed. They killed 7 people, and it was called the Church Street disaster. And one of the newspaper clippings that I came across described a woman who was caught up to her waist in rubble. And I was ignited by this image. You know, this woman literally, they were able to get her out of the piece. This woman in her waist in the rubble. And I've immediately thought about Samuel Beckett's Happy Days and Winnie, this character who is interred in the earth up into her waist, and then she gets swallowed up until we can only see her head. And Beckett, of course, was in Dublin at the time, and I could posit that he might have also read that and seen and been ignited by that image. But I was really excited by this idea, and I started pulling lots of different threads together. And of course, we all know the William Butler Yeats poem, September 1913, and I happened to be performing it in September in 2013. And newspaper coverage of the Church Street disaster was, there was a picture of it on the headline of a newspaper, and the headline was, "And they still think about art." I was like, what the, excuse me, where are we going here? And it was because at the time there's a lot of debate about the Hugh Lane collection and where it would be housed, and whether society should spend money on art when people are dying in defective houses. It's a conversation that we still have, you know, but I would be very much, and I think we really understood since COVID and since the lockdown actually how important art is. That, you know, that great feminist song, Bread and Roses, we can't live on bread alone. We need to have the roses, we need to have the art, we need to have the something else. So I decided to make this performance, which I called 13 Women, over 12 hours. And over 12 hours, I read the poem, September 1913. So you'd hear about a word every 5 minutes, actually. And this is the poem that, Fumbling in the Greasy Till, Romantic Ireland's Dead and Gone, it's with O'Leary in the grave. And I took the words, Yeats's words, as a kind of dynamic instigator of gesture. And so a lot of my work uses Irish Sign Language. Irish Sign Language is my first language, so my mum and dad are sign language users, very proud sign language users. And so in my, when I was growing up, my family, we used sign language in the house. And so I took these great gestures. So this is the sign for Ireland, and it became this beautiful gesture. I think I'm actually in the middle, finishing making it, in the middle photograph there. And I brought in, I think, 15 collaborators. They were all, it was very important to me that they were all women or identified as women. And I had a great stretch of fabric in this military blue, really important blue. And over the course of the 12 hours, we literally broke through the fabric. Literally a finger came through, a fingernail worried it until it opened, and a hand came through, and then an arm came through, and then heads came through. You can see some of the kind of birthing coming through it like that. So we were breaking through. There's a lot of beautiful conceptual ideas about that breaking through. And of course then we went back on in underneath it, and we came through. And that is super simple, super simple. And while we're doing this, we're trying to make, these gestures. But it was really, I suppose I split the poem completely and abstracted it, and just used it as an ignition for gesture within this piece of work. And so from that live 12-hour performance, I only performed it only once. And since then, I have designated some of the photographs. I have a lot of photographs from the live performances. They're all documentation, so there could be thousands. And I will, over a couple of years after the live performance, decide what I might make as an artwork. So it might become a series of photographs that I designate as artworks, above just documentation. Or I made a filmic work around this live performance as well. And I've shown the poor piece of fabric with the 13 holes in it as a sculpture outside of the live performance. But as I say, it ignites through the liveness. So performance art really, I think, has kind of 4 elements to it. There's the body of the performers that are making it. There's the time, how long they make it for. So it could be like a haiku poem, it could be a 5-minute performance, or it could be like a 24-hour performance, or a 12-hour performance as actually the ignition point for I Could Drink a Case of You. That performance was 12 hours. And then the audience are really, really important. So their interaction, their consideration of the performance, their ideas about the performance, because my works are non-verbal, so it leaves a lot of space for people to interpret it. And then, of course, the site, the place where you put it. So if I'm in a gallery like this, I chose when I was live here with you to use the stairwell, not the gallery as such, but the stairwell very clearly, I think. Stairs and ladders always really excite me within my practice. That idea of going up and maybe going down again. I always think of snakes and ladders, stairway to another place, another idea, another dream. So the 4 main pillars then really are the body that's making it, the audience that consider it, the time that you make it, and the context or the place that you make it in.